welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I am, of course, your host, the beloved, the most charismatic man in entertainment. Now, I had Kevin Hart, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, a bunch of A-list celebrities hit me up like, hey, can I be a guest on your podcast? But I said, no, I got to get this guy on first. And you could search him, you could Google him, you might have watched him compete, but I got to give him the intro he well deserves. So, he recently retained his championship, against Ryan Phillips by round 4 KO. On PowerSlap 7. That's right. We're talking about PowerSlap, and he is the heavyweight champion. He is 6'2", 255 pounds. His record, 5 wins, 3 by knockout, just one little single defeat. And he's from Ruskin, Florida. Please help me in joining the reigning, defending, undisputed PowerSlap heavyweight champion of the world, Damien, DiBell.
Thank you for the amazing intro, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
a little bit too much.
Yeah, I got the sunglasses on because he tried to outshine me here. But Damien, I've been watching PowerSlap, since I probably say last summer. I watched a lot of the athletes and like you, Wolverine, all the top players. How did you get into PowerSlap? Because I know you did an interview with the respected journalist Kevin Ioli. How did you even get involved with PowerSlap?
I was just watching YouTube one day, and this was like the beginning of my journey. I joined Power or Slap Fight Championships originally, and they had a little deal where they brought over, Ron, Darius, Frank the Tank, a couple of guys to help create this new sport called PowerSlap. And I was one of the lucky few that got chosen to come on over. So I got to participate in season 1 of the show, and I've been a part of it ever since.
So I'm just curious, like a lot of people, I'm a big UFC guy. I'm not sure if you are too, but how do you like even train for something like that? I'm just curious because there's not a lot of behind the scenes footage. I see people like Terp, slapping the bags and stuff. But how do you like actually train for a competition?
Personally, I do a lot of muscle training, conditioning. There's flexibility that goes into it. So, yoga, stretching, basically just making sure you're in better shape than you were the last time you fought. And I know a lot of guys have started to adapt, neck training, shoulder training exercises to try to help them take hits better. But I've never really concerned myself with that part. I've mainly focused on building power. And another big aspect is working on your technique. People don't realize your technique alone could increase or decrease your power by folds. Like it's crazy when you really learn how to throw a slap.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know if you notice, well, you probably don't, but I'm 6'4", Damien. If you're looking for a contender, nah, I'm just playing with you. So how's the journey been for you though? It's definitely a sport that's very is growing in popularity. A lot of people got the eyeballs on it. How's your journey been? Because I know you had mentioned I was reading your PowerSlap athlete profile, and I was saying that you literally just your first match was your first time actually doing it. So how has that journey been from the moment you started to now being the heavyweight champion?
It's really been, kind of mind-boggling. It's hard. I still, sometimes sit there and like wrap my head around all the ways my life's changed because of this opportunity. Like, I originally got into it just because it was like kind of like a gimmicky new sport that was coming out. They're like, oh, just stand there, take steps. I was like, oh, that sounds badass. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Like, so I participated in it, and now we're fighting for the UFC like promoters. Like we're fighting at the Apex. Your videos are getting millions of views. Start getting recognized on the streets. It's been a hard change to get used to that kind of lifestyle, but it's it was really just it really makes you appreciate all the things that you've done and worked hard towards, and just seeing all that stuff start paying out, and then trying to see it from, this has only been a year into the sport. It's trying to predict the progress, and how much we're going to grow in another year is really it's really hard, and it's difficult to even wrap your head around, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely respect what you're doing. I know a lot of people. I'm gonna ask you a hard hitting question in a second, but so right after PowerSlap 7, Dana White did a press conference and he was talking about the rules, and some people were complaining a little bit about the rules. And I know when I first started watching it, if I'm not mistaken, you could correct me on this, but I think as soon as you slap somebody, they only got a minute to recover, get in the box, and hit you before if they didn't do that within a minute, unless it was a foul, you lose your turn. And if I'm not mistaken, that rule has changed, so now you get a minute to recover and get in the box, but you at least get a little second to measure and all that stuff. How's the rules changed since you started to now?
The rules have changed. Honestly, pretty much every event, there's something new being introduced, something old being reworded or specified, and you're going to continue to see it as the sport grows. Every event, the commission and the refs are seeing different things, realizing how these fighters are training and growing. Because that's another aspect. As we progress, the fighters are bringing in new techniques. They're really getting in depth with their training, really looking back at all their previous fights and seeing what worked, what didn't work, and hammering in and focusing in on what they need to be working on. So it's really going to be every event for the next couple events, but I appreciate the changes as they come, and I honestly welcome them because there's a couple rules that I personally don't even agree with, like with entirely, like stepping. I don't think there should be really any heel lift allowed because it they're not consistent enough when ruling what is a heel lift. So it's hard for a fighter to determine what they're supposed to do. Everyone just try to keep their feet on the ground and let the refs figure it out.
Yeah, the rules are definitely not consistent. I don't know what they'll end up doing, but I do think that that discussion of is actually starting to be had. I think now that's gaining popularity and people starting to tune in. I see people like Travis Scott and a bunch of other celebrities coming in to the event and seeing that. Um, I do gotta ask you though. I'd be remiss. I'm actually surprised Kevin didn't ask you this, but I like Power Slap, and I know you're the champion. But there are people out there that think Power Slap is stupid. They think that it's not a real sport. Uh, what do you say to people who make those type of criticisms about what you do for a living?
Uh, Mind your own business. that's, that's honestly all I gotta say to people like that. Like, if you ain't gonna support what I'm doing, then don't watch what I'm doing. That's as easy as it comes. Like, I'm not in this to get any gratification from every person, and you're never even gonna make everybody happy. So I've really learned to just appreciate the love that you get and ignore the haters because people are going to hate on anything. So
Right.
I'm not going to let it bother me.
Nah, it shouldn't, man. You do what you do. It's like I was having a discussion earlier with someone about acting. It's like people would say, oh, not to me, but just in general, you get a real job. That's not a real thing, and it's like you don't know what it's actually like to be in the industry or be an athlete for you, let alone be a champion. I actually, like I said, like this podcast is about having fun and getting to know athletes and the people, but we gotta have some tough conversations once in a while.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask you this real quick because this is a topic that comes up it's primarily in the UFC, uh, but like fighter pay is a big thing going on. And as an actual athlete, I think you're the first athlete I've had journalists come on and stuff. But as an athlete, do you think fighter pay is something that really needs to be discussed?
uh, I think so because that you look at how much these guys are making these companies, and then how much they're getting paid a lot of times, especially when you look at lower tier MMA fighters. Like, you know, they're still pro MMA. They can still whoop a ton of people's asses out there, but they're making cents on the dollar, and compared to all the people setting up the event. And I know that it's a whole different thing, creating the promotion and everything, but these are this is your entertainment. These fighters are the reason you're able to do these events, and I think they deserve, just compensation for that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I see a lot of people, fans, or detractors always say, "Oh, yeah, they complain." Us regular 9 to 5 people. But I always tell people, when you're actually doing something you enjoy and love, you should get paid for it. Just because you feel that they get paid more than you, doesn't mean they're getting paid fairly, and we see that all the time. Um, but as a champion, I do want to ask you, like, because you're the first actual professional athlete I've had so far as a champion. Because I know in the UFC, you definitely, when you're a champion, you get pay-per-view points, you get an increase. But for you, do you get that as well?
Uh, I'm not really allowed to discuss a lot of the
Oh, okay.
contract stuff, but the pay does increase when you get a belt,
Okay.
especially when you defend your belt for a little while. That because it cements you as someone that's going to be staying in the sport, and it definitely helps whenever you go to renegotiate your contract.
Yeah. In that case, yeah, can I borrow 5,000? Nah, I'm just kidding. Uh,
I don't got like that now.
he said, I'm got it like that. Um, it's actually funny you mentioned that too. I do want to ask you, because I do know a lot of professional athletes. Um, Usually have a job. I know you have like a part-time job or maybe a full-time outside of what you do. Do you find it hard balancing that? And do you think that when you become um, I want to say more active, but as get more title defenses under your belt, that you might have to take a step back from that and just primarily focus on being a champion?
I mean, right now, most of the jobs I take are really just to pass the time, make extra money to save up for law school. Because my main my main goal is, at the end of the day, the reason I do any of this is just to be able to afford law school in the future. So it's if I'm making enough money that I feel like I could pull away, and especially for an opportunity like this where your health, not only do you get a chance to better yourself as a person, physically and mentally doing this sport. Well, not as much mentally because, it gets crazy out there, but physically you get to work on yourself and better yourself. And I appreciate being able to do that and make money off of it as well. And then, as you continue to getting dominant wins and, renegotiating or moving up the ladders, it definitely allows you to be able to do this full time. And I definitely could be doing this full time. It's 1 week out of the year that we fight, and a lot of the jobs that I do are really kind of sorts of helping my training. Like, I'll help my friends out with their tree work. I have a friend that has a tree work company. I'll help him carrying logs, loading trailers. My brother-in-law, he does a landscaping business, so anytime he has some heavy stuff or like a lot of digging, like that hard work type stuff. That's what I usually try to do, just to keep myself active.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I used to do stuff like that. I'm too good looking for that. No, I'm not calling you ugly. I'm just saying, I can't mess up this pretty face.
Yeah, it ain't for
Um,
everybody. It
yeah,
definitely
that's
ain't.
Power slap is definitely it's a growing sport, and it's starting to reach the mainstream a little bit and stuff like that. So a lot of the questions I'm asking you is, you know, like I said, I've watched you do interviews. I don't think I've seen other people do as many interviews outside of the probably the regular media that comes with like the press conference, the post fight press conference. Um, but what is like the protocol for you when you get the call, like, hey, we want you to defend a belt? Because I know, like, in the UFC, usually people, unless it's short notice, you probably get like 8 to 10 weeks of a training camp. Is it the same way for you, or is it more of like a month or two? And
No, they usually give us a couple weeks notice, especially for me. It's kind of easy to tell when I'm going to be fighting because, I've knocked out the top, you know, couple contenders. There's only so many people that could possibly fight. I kind of just self-predict who and when I'm going to be fighting. Plus, I have to get a certain number of fights each year. So you kind of just measure it out in your head and when you need to start really honing in on your training. And for me, that really just comes down to hitting the gym harder, start running more, really honing on my technique, just really pushing in and pounding in the fundamentals of what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you get access to the UFC PI when you're in Vegas, or do
Hmm.
you? Oh, you do. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to get up in there. I'm trying. I'm just- um, Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a sport. I feel like a lot of people are still trying to understand like the ins and outs of it. Like, most people know about how, usually fight camps and stuff like that go for like the UFC. And even though PowerSlap is part of UFC, it's still it's a separate thing. So I appreciate you answering these questions. Now let's talk about money. Nah, I'm just playing. Uh,
What's in your contract?
I want to know. I, we should. I gotta have a little fun with this. I know you're the champ, but I gotta ask you this: Who is the tough? Yeah, I'm gonna start trouble here. Who is the toughest opponent you've had, and who is? I wouldn't say easy because no athlete is easy, but yeah, what is the hardest challenge you faced, and what is the easiest one you think you faced?
That's honestly a pretty easy one to answer. Ron is my hardest because that was the only match that I've had that went in, at least in Power Slap, the only match I had that had actually went the distance and went the full 5 rounds. And then the easiest would just have to be Nate because, I didn't even get hit that fight. So it don't get much easier
Yeah,
than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I just watched. I think it was PowerSlap 6, Nate. I was watching on YouTube, and yeah, he's a man. I'm actually surprised. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize how big a lot of you guys are. Because I always say, like, I met Chris Wyman. I don't know if you know him, but he's UFC middleweight, and this dude is
Yeah.
like 6'2". I think he walks around like 225. I'm like, these are big dudes. So I imagine someone like you in person, stepping up to you. This is why I'm challenging you for that belt, man. Come on,
Bro, you don't
come
want
on,
that
put
smoke. You don't want that smoke. No
nah.
one's no one stayed standing yet.
um. So I want to ask you another thing about as we're talking about the rules and the sports and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What about do you think like the refs? Do you think that some of them are inconsistent too? Because we do see that it's a little spoiler. I'm probably going to use a lot of UFC references
Yeah,
mostly
no, that's
because it's
fine.
to say, but like a lot of refs and judges and stuff get criticized for bad judging, bad refing. Do you feel like that's a big problem in Power Slap 2 or no?
I think the biggest problem in Power Slap is the lack of consistency in their calls. It seems like in the same event, one fighter's match might get called for, a step or a flinch, and that seemingly the same exact thing might be happening in another match, and it won't get called there. So it's like more consistency would be nice, just so fighters know what to be looking out for, and fans know what to be looking out for. Because even fans have been catching on to like that looks like a stepping call, but they're not calling anything. But in this match, they called it like that doesn't make any sense. So I would definitely love to see some more of that consistency.
How, I do gotta ask, how the hell do you train for flit? Like that was actually something I seen progressive in the sport is flinching, and this different degrees. And shout out to Michael Bisping because he makes it very known. Uh,
Oh yeah.
like some people get they do blatant but how do you even train yourself to not flinch when you know that impact is coming?
It's kind of like mental training, just building your mental fortitude to be able to stand there. Some guys, it's easier than others. Everybody's different when it comes to take just outright taking a hit. Luckily, I didn't have that issue starting out, but when I was in the house and helping train some guys, we used to like pool noodles to simulate, just something coming at your face, not exactly something strong or anything, just something coming at your face and being able to stand there and take it. So
Yeah,
stuff like that. But it's a real mental game when you get up there.
interesting. Would you ever actually like when this all said and done, or maybe as you get more reps in the business, would you ever transition to UFC? Because I know some fighters have and athletes have been asked that. Like, would you ever cross over?
If I was going to cross over, I'd want to cross over into boxing, just because I don't like ground fighting. I hate it. So I want some stand and pound type stuff. That's why I got into power slap or slap fighting in general is because I prefer to stand up there and trade blows with somebody. I'm not about that taking somebody to the ground and wrestling. I know it's respect to anybody that's willing to do that. There's some crazy wrestlers out there, but that's just not for me. I'm no uncomfortable with that.
I will say though, and I mean, besides a couple like Jonathan Almeida and John Jones, heavyweight, you don't really get a lot of wrestlers. Curtis Blaze, how can I forget him? You don't see a lot of wrestling, so maybe that power will transition over there. You may not even have to, be on the ground,
It
but
would be nice, but yeah, it's going to be so easy for anybody to make a game plan. Just it's Damien, just tackle him. And that's it. Just tackle him. He'll try to stand up the entire time. Just don't let him stand up.
yeah. Do you ever when you're in Vegas? I know like PowerSlap 7 was the day before UFC 300. Do you go to the events too, or no?
No, they don't give us like any tickets or anything for that. So, yeah, you'd have to figure that out for yourself. And
That's
I'm not a
crazy.
big enough UFC fan to be paying that much money.
No, hold on. Let me call Dana White now. You stop.
Call him up. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't like them. I don't watch the UFC like that.
Really?
Honestly, I don't like watching sports in general really anymore because I prefer to actually just go and play. You know, I'm the type of person I don't like watching football. I like playing football. I don't like
Yeah,
watching boxing. I like boxing. So like,
yeah.
why am I going to watch somebody else do something that I enjoy doing
That's
myself?
true.
Like that it just and then I sitting there 9 o'clock at night watching a fight. Now I want to go fight somebody for no reason. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah. And any you have any favorite boxers? Like Deontay Wilder. I know he just lost, but I gotta get Deontay Wilder's my favorite. I like Anthony Joshua, Anthony Ruiz, and them. But do you have any favorites?
I was actually about to say Deontay Wilder, just because I love his style of boxing. Just such a big dude. Just go out there and basically just whoop their ass. Just hit him hard, bro. I can respect
I
that.
I agree. People, I was having this conversation. People was like, yo, he's very limited. But I'm like, in the sport, if like, so I think it was Michael Bisping or Chael Sonnen, and they said this. If you know that all I have to do is land a one clean shot and the match is over, sometimes you may not have to learn how to kick, be like Mike Tyson or Floyd Mayweather. You could just, and shout out to him because he made a whole career just knocking people out and it's worked for him. I think he got to the point, he's a little older now, but he probably got to the point now he's fighting like the real cream of the top that
Oh
maybe
yeah,
he should learn how to, throw a little more
yeah. And then once he
defense, little
learns
jab.
that, it's over. Like once that man gets like some real technique under it, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. When
I'd
can
fight
we
him.
see you? When can we see you in boxing, man? Let's take you somewhere. Let's go.
Once I retire from PowerSlap, I'm not allowed to do both.
Really? You not?
No, champion status. Can't
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
have your champions running around, especially since I haven't done pro boxing before. They they're worried about the safety and then making sure that I'm cleared to still participate in my power slap matches. Because they'll if I get knocked out in a boxing match and I have a power slap match in a month or even close to 2 months, it could ruin that match for me. So they don't want to even risk that.
I don't even know why I question that because I think the only Conor McGregor is the only person they allowed that. But yeah, it's probably not good for business if you got the champion
Yeah.
out from and then it's a whole nother thing. So what is the future for you? Like of course you're gonna be reigning. I can see you reigning for a while now, so I'm not worried about you dropping the belt. But like, what is the future for you? Like, do you see yourself doing this another like 10 years or? Do you have any goal aspirations you want to hit by a certain age or whatever?
Uh, probably see myself doing this for at least another year or 2 years. Just stacking up money. Because I want to get into law school at least 2 years from now, like by the latest. Because I want to at least graduate law school before I'm 30. That's my main goal. Just finish that before I'm 30. So, I could do that for my 30s and, build a career for myself. But, I could definitely see myself doing this for another 2 years at least. Just, as honestly, just as long as they'll let me keep winning the belt. At some point, they might just be like, nah, you're done. Stop it. You're done.
I doubt it. You know why? Because for them, especially in a sport where you're always trying to increasingly get more audience, it's always good to have a dominant champion. Like John, people say this about John Jones too, where he was very dominant. People say, "Oh well, he always beating somebody," but then you become popular and you make the division must see. And I think when you have a champion who stays on top for a while, opposed to right now when some divisions you got a champion one event, then the next event they lose, and then the next event there's
Yeah,
somebody else. It's consistency, like we was talking about. Um, you know, I won't keep you too long. I know you had a busy
you're
day and
fine.
everything. I don't sign autographs, so don't even ask. No, just kidding.
Literally just about to ask.
Eh, don't worry. I got you. I'll mail you something. How about that?
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Uh, actually, but before we wrap it up, let me ask you: what do you see about the sport of PowerSlap? Because I know right now, people could check it out on Rumble and everything. But do you see it at some point probably getting on ESPN? Maybe getting some primetime action. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be an explosion in the next couple years before you call it?
Honestly, I feel like at some point they could get onto ESPN. It might be difficult because those are the TV execs decisions, and they don't like new things for a lot of stuff. But I don't know the whole world in television, but I could definitely see this becoming like something that you watch at the bar, just on ESPN real quick because it's a really exciting sport, and once people start shuffling into the live events, it's it's really going to blow up because that's when people start realizing the fun in watching the sport because the energy in a live event just incomparable to watching it on TV.
Yeah, it's. I do want to go to a Power Slap event at some point. I think a lot of events has been on. I used to live on the West Coast, so most of the events tend to be over there. But I do hope at some point they start, traveling around and getting around. I think that's probably the best way to, explode it. But I will say one of the things I do appreciate is that they improved the production value because when it first started, it
Oh
was a
yeah.
little wonky. I think maybe that what do you think about maybe like the performance aspect, like the walkouts and all that stuff? Like, do you think they
Oh
can
yeah.
do something better with that?
I don't know about doing something better, but I know they could probably allow some fighters to. There's a lot of fighters that want to do some funny stuff, some cool stuff, cool shit while they're walking out. So I think it's just start loosening the reins a little bit on what the fighters could do, especially since it's not really a strict sport when it comes to like outside of the ring. Like we're wearing sweats and jerseys when we're fighting, so we could have stuff in our pocket. Allow us to pull some stuff out. A toy hammer or something. Let me throw a toy hammer at somebody. Like it would have
Right,
been nice to have the crown on the stage somewhere, and then like after I knocked out Ryan, someone or whoever won the match be able to pick up the crown and put it on their head. Stuff like that would just it would add a little entertainment value, but for it's still a sport in the end. So they're just trying to focus on the sport itself and really let the fighters speak for themselves on that.
yeah,
Just
they
in their
definitely.
performance.
Yeah, they definitely improved on that. People like you, Turpin, Wolverine, some of the top people. Like, there's some personalities emerging. I think that was one of the biggest. One of the minor criticisms a lot of people had was like there wasn't a lot of personality being shown, and now you're seeing that people going viral for stuff like that. So, um, I gotta ask you one last thing because I'm an idiot if I don't ask you. What like do you ever have you ever like injured your hand in the middle of a match or any sustained any injuries?
No,
No.
I mean, I used to, or actually used to. I've kind of stopped doing it now. Just kind of fell out of the habit. But I used to just practice on bricks for a little while to harden the hand. There was a personal trainer that I was working with. They're just like, well, if you don't want your hand to ever get hurt while you're slapping somebody, just slap a brick, massage it, put some oils or whatever on it, and just cycle that out and do that for a couple months, and your hand will be fine. And I've legitimately never had any hand pain,
Well, let's keep
not even
praying for
sore.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
knock on wood. Haven't had any hand pain yet, but I appreciate that at least.
All right. Can you do me one favor? Just one favor.
Yeah,
Two
go ahead.
things actually. First thing, next time you compete, you got to walk out. Wait, do they let you choose out your own
Hmm.
walkout music? You got to come out to Little Chris Slap. You have to. I think it fits the moment. You know what I'm saying?
That
Come on.
that would be hilarious. Oh, I'll think about it. I'll think
Come
about it.
on, man.
It's a good
You know,
idea. I'll
you
have
know,
to, there's like a playlist of songs that are queued up to be walkout songs right now. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Every time I hear a song that fits like my events, I'm like, all right, add that to the queue. Next fight, bringing out this song. That's why my fight song changes every match. I'm too indecisive to pick one.
yeah, I was thinking about that when I reached out to you. I was like, how has nobody ever came out to the song? It just makes it's gonna go viral. People gonna have fun, and it's hilarious. It fits the theme. Um,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's ooh. Yeah, no, now I got to reconsider my plans.
hey, I'm not even gonna ask for a percentage of your purse. All right, take that as a
He's
favor.
like, you can take that one for free.
You know what
I'm
I'm
doing you
saying?
a favor with that one.
I'm trying to. I'm doing the Lord's work as we speak.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. I won't keep you. We've had a great discussion, and if you ever want to come back on, I definitely would uh appreciate that because I think it's definitely a sport that I'm actually surprised a lot of like MMA media and stuff. They don't really do a lot of one-on-one interviews. I think Kevin Iole is the only one that's given maybe it's because you're the champ, but I think they should do better with the media coverage outside of the sport, giving you guys a platform to speak and, push your
Yeah.
brand out because that's the best way to make a little extra money. So, where can people
Oh,
find you?
for
I know
sure.
where to find you. You know what I'm saying? So, when you play that song, I will be, looking for my cash. Where can, where can people find you and all that stuff?
You can follow me, anywhere at DiBell SF. Don't ask about the SF. Producers are mad at me about it already. But yeah, DiBell SF, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Instagram I use the most. I post the most. So definitely follow me on there if you want the latest information.
Yeah. Before you go, do you have? I know you just competed and you defended successfully, but do you have an idea of the next event that's coming up?
At least two events out because they still gotta find a contender, but knocking everybody out, man, it's hard.
Yeah,
They
I
gotta
know,
find somebody
man.
for me to knock out next. So
Uh,
just waiting.
don't worry. Don't worry. I'm gonna show up next week at the PI. Talking about you know.
He's like, bro, do you know who I am? Do you
Yeah.
know who I am, man? You gonna let me fight
Come
for
on.
that belt?
You know what I'm saying? Come on, the most charismatic man versus the belt. Come on, man. It's written in the stars. No, I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna attempt. But Damien, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. Especially being a champion, you didn't have to do this. But you know what? I know you wanted the most charismatic experience. Hashtag no Diddy. And I appreciate you taking the time, man. Any final words? Any final thoughts before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the fans. I appreciate all the love and support I've been getting the past couple of days. It's it's really been life changing. Having this opportunity, and I appreciate every one of y'all that have been pushing and supporting the sport entirely, and me personally through this. So thank you.
He's the heavyweight champion. I'm the most charismatic man. If you got something to say about that, he'll slap you. We're out. We'll see you later.